This is Da Nang, a smelly, sweaty seaport on the South China Sea, only 100 miles from the 17th parallel, which forms the frontier with communist North Vietnam. It used to be a foreign legion town, and most of the older people speak a few words of French. But now the children are learning English, American English, for Da Nang has become one of the key American bases in South Vietnam. It's a town of rich and varied smells, and it fairly reeks of war. It's easy to forget that the people of Vietnam have suffered war for 20 years. First it was the Japanese who fought here, then the French, and now it's the turn of the Americans. All the souvenirs in the shops seem to be of war too. You can buy Western-style revolver holsters and slouch hats in almost every street, and any tailor will run you up a suit of jungle green for only a few hundred piastres. In this area, generally, the United States has about 14,500 Marines, 9,000 of them engaged solely in defending Da Nang Air Base. And there's a lot more where they come from. For the total strength of the US Marine Corps is about 190,000, which is bigger than the whole of the British Army. And it's a complete fighting unit in itself with tanks, artillery, and its own jet fighters and bombers. Inevitably, comparisons are being drawn between Da Nang and Dien Bien Phu, the battlefield where the French were so crushingly defeated by the Viet Minh, predecessors of the Viet Cong, 11 years ago. Is there in fact a parallel? Could the same disaster which struck the French also overtake the Americans? To answer that question, let's first take a look at the base and its marine defenders. There are two towns in Da Nang, the Oriental Port, and then close by, but belonging to an entirely different world, the very western base, a great complex of hangars, tents and supply dumps, all there to maintain the squadrons of supersonic jets and the fleets of transport aircraft. The build-up of hardware, as the Americans say, is highly impressive. Da Nang is the launching pad for many of the almost daily airstrikes against North Vietnam, and it must be one of the busiest military airfields in the world. Hardly a minute passes without some aircraft coming in or taking off. Jet fighters are always on alert to counter any strike on the airfield, and backing them up is a squadron of Hawk ground-to-air missiles perched on Hill 327 above Da Nang. The Hawks are here to protect Da Nang Air Base from an attack by Russian-built MiGs, and they're just about the most effective ground-to-air anti-aircraft missile there is. Once the battery's radar has picked up the incoming enemy, the computerized system locks on in such a way that every change of speed and direction is automatically countered. And once they've been launched, there's no aircraft in the world that can get away from them. All around the perimeter of this tempting target, Marine sentries keep watch for the elusive and mostly invisible Viet Cong. So far, the sentries have been attacked only by the sun and mosquitoes, bar one man who was grazed by an arrow from a crossbow. Under the muzzles of the Marines' guns, the infinitely patient peasants of Vietnam toil away in their rice fields. One thing at least is sure: whoever's gaining from this slow, cruel war, it's not the Vietnamese peasant. Brigadier General Frederick